Hey, Ram fans, Mark from Rams Up here. It's been a while since I've felt this good after a Rams win. I mean, we had that Raider Ram game last year, but didn't really matter much, right? Coming off a 5-12 season, they go up to Seattle without their best receiver, their best offensive player, perhaps their second best player, you might say, and they dismantle the Seahawks in the second half, come away with a 30-13 win in a game. Not a lot of people were picking the Rams in this one, but they were clearly the better team. got to be happy with how this game turned out, and maybe it's about having low expectations as well, and it having been so long since we've seen this Ram team perform like this, and a lot of that has to do with our quarterback, gunslinger Matt Stafford, man, on top of his game. So the Rams are down 13-7 at halftime in a pretty even game. Rams had that opening drive, 16 plays, 75 yards with Kyren Williams punching it in. And then in the second half, man, they outscore the Seahawks 23-0. Seahawks, they did lose their two tackles, and Tyler Lockett banged up for a moment. But this was a mismatch in the second half. The Rams looked like they were the far better team, and some youngsters stepping up too. That was what's really exciting. Now, and let me talk about that for a second. You know, there seems to be two camps of Ram fans out there. One camp thinking that this year is kind of a lost cause. Let's see what these draft picks can do for us, and then we'll have a go at it in 2024. And if you're one of those folks, then you got to be happy. Puka Nacua, he showed up, right? Second-year player Kyren Williams, finally making an impact on an NFL game, really for the first time. Steve Avila and this offensive line looked super solid. And then Byron Young and Kobe Turner both pitching in. So you got to feel good about, well, the fact that 4 of our draft picks showed up and played really well. 2 of them extremely well. But if you're in the other camp that I belong to, that this team could be extremely competitive, we don't know. We just don't know, right? I didn't know what this team was going to bring this year. We have to feel really good about where this team is right now because they look pretty darn good, pretty competitive. Now, it's opening day. You know, as the announcers were saying, opening day lies a lot to us. So I'm not, penciling the Rams in for a playoff spot, but I am eagerly anticipating how this season develops. And that's why this game was so important, extremely important, because who do they have next? They have the 49ers, who actually look like the best team in the league against the Steelers. And then after that, they get the Bengals on Monday night. They did struggle, but it's still Joe Burrow and the Bengals under the lights in Cincinnati. Then they come back and get the Colts, who will be no pushover with Anthony Richardson there. A little bit of a break, though. And then they get the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending NFC champions. So they get 3 teams that played in conference championship games last year in their first 5 games. So got to pump the brakes on getting too excited about the Rams prospects. But hey, if they had lost this game, not only would it have reflected poorly on, these youngsters perhaps, but it also would have really put a damper on the Rams' playoff prospects after 1 week of football. So big win. Now, just so you know, I will be doing 2 additional segments, and I'll compile that and this into the podcast for tomorrow morning. So some of those segments that I typically cover, individual performances, review of the coaches and refs, and reviewing my fearsome 4 keys to the game and what were the fearsome 4 big plays of the game. That'll be on the upcoming segments. For now, just go through some key stats. The Rams had 27 first downs, the Seahawks only 13. They outrushed the Seahawks 92-85, and the one thing the Rams had to do was slow down that Seahawk rushing attack, and they did on the interior. I felt like they did, but on the outside, still giving up some edge rushes, letting the edge, giving up the edge, and that's something we saw in the preseason. I was hoping it was limited to the second and third stringers, but Byron Young, Michael Hoyt, and others really struggled with that. So they're going to have to figure that out before they play the 49ers. But the interior rush defense was okay. And offensively, they were okay on the running the ball. Kyren Williams especially. Cam Akers looked a little indecisive, and his stats line is going to look really bad. But a lot of that was due to the fact that he was given the task of running out the clock late there and just more concerned about ball security, even though we did have one scary moment there. I was thinking to myself, can we just put Ben Skowronek back there and have him plunge forward, secure the ball, take a knee? What are we doing pitching the ball to Cam Akers? Stafford 24 for 38 for 334 yards, and he had a few drops too. All TDs came on the ground though, 2 for Williams, 1 for Akers. Geno Smith just 112 yards passing, and that's another thing I talked about, giving away some of my fearsome 4 keys to the game was which Geno are we going to get? The Rams offensive line did not give up a sack. They had 2 on the defensive side. They split them up, half sacks for AD, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and Michael Hoyt. The Rams converted 11 of 17 third downs. Man, in the first half, there were just a ton of third downs for both teams. And for the most part, they both just kept on cashing them in. In the second half, it was just a different story, especially for the Seahawks. So what does this all mean? Well, to me, it means the Rams can be competitive this year and push for a possible playoff spot. That's all it really means. And I'm not jumping on the Rams to the playoffs bandwagon yet. But what I saw today looked like a team still kind of maybe finding its footing on defense, an offensive line, and a quarterback that looked extremely confident. Wide receivers look pretty good. I was worried about that without Cooper Kupp, and that was another one of my fearsome 4 keys to the game. Which Ram receiver is going to step up? Well, 2 of them did. Van Jefferson had to drop, but that actually didn't end up costing us because we did end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. But man, a lot to like about this team, a lot to like about the coaching, how they've gotten these guys ready. So there's a lot of good things we saw. Puka Nacua is the real deal. The offensive line is solid. Tutu Atwell finally showing up. Kyren Williams quick in the red zone. We got a 1-2 punch at running back right now. Like to see more production out of Cam Akers, but I'll be patient with him. It's only day 1, right? The special teams, I feel better now than I did late in the first half. There are some struggles there, but those were long field goals. He finally did hit a long one and a couple of short ones. So Brett Maher came through for us for the most part. Ethan Evans only had 1 punt. One punt at Seattle without Cooper Kupp. That's pretty impressive. And what would I like to see? Where do we need to improve? Mainly defending the edge, really, and maybe trying to get more pressure on the quarterback early in the game. There were times where Geno Smith was just standing back there, but the Rams figured that out. But actually, they figured it out against second-string tackles. Let's be honest with ourselves. So we'll talk about that other stuff in my upcoming drops on the YouTube channel and included on the Monday morning podcast. But feel good about this one, Ram fans. This was fun. Rams once again go up to Seattle. We can say one thing for sure. One thing we know right now, that all those naysayers were wrong. This is not a bad football team. And you know what? I have to say, I listened to 2 different YouTube channels the other day, and these guys, these were gambling sites, and they were talking about the Rams, and they're apparently looking at the Rams depth chart on defense, and they were just awestruck by how horrible this defense is going to be. Problem is, I don't think they know who any of these guys are, except for Aaron Donald. They probably don't even know who Ernest Jones is. They don't know who Jordan Fuller is, or Russ Yeast, or Kobe Durant, or Quentin Lake, or Kobe Turner, or Byron Young. You don't know who they are, so how can you say they're going to be bad? I opted to be a little bit patient, not pass judgment. Let's see these guys play. And I was pretty happy with what I saw. This Ram team might just be okay in 2023 out here.